Wants Steph to play against an injured player. I am sure your heart is breaking for Coco right now.
Yes. First and foremost, I want to say happy.
Obviously, not the way you want to finish the match here, but just talk us through, I guess, how you thought you were playing and the chat you had with Coco at the net afterwards as well.
Yeah, it's always
The truth they don't want you to know. Alex Eala's painful secret behind the win that broke the internet, and why her Indian Wells story is far from over. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, the only tennis channel on this entire platform that gives you the real story, the raw emotion, the behind-the-scenes drama, and the scorching hot takes that the mainstream sports media simply does not have the guts to deliver. If this is your first time here, you have stumbled on to absolute gold today, and you better hit that subscribe button right now because what I am about to tell you is going to change the way you watch women's tennis forever. I am not exaggerating. I am not clickbaiting. I am giving you the unfiltered, heart-stopping, jaw-dropping, goosebump-inducing truth about one of the most extraordinary stories that has ever unfolded in the history of this beautiful, dramatic, and utterly unpredictable sport. Picture the scene. The California desert. The Indian Wells Tennis Garden, a venue so glamorous, so prestigious, so dripping with elite energy that they call it the fifth Grand Slam. Billionaires in the front rows. Hollywood royalty hiding behind oversized sunglasses. The fragrant smell of sunscreen and old money floating through the warm afternoon air. And there, under the blazing lights of Stadium 1, a 20-year-old girl from the Philippines just rewrote the history books in front of the entire watching world. Her name is Alexandra Eala. And if you do not know that name yet, you absolutely will by the end of this video, because this young woman is not just a tennis player. She is a phenomenon. She is a movement. She is the kind of once-in-a-generation story that reminds every single one of us exactly why we fell in love with this sport in the first place. Now let us be completely clear about what happened, because the full truth is even more dramatic and layered than the scoreline alone suggests. In less than a month, Alex Eala got her revenge against one of the brightest young stars on the WTA Tour, continuing her impressive run at the BNP Paribas Open with a stunning victory over world number 4 Coco Gauff at Indian Wells Tennis Garden, advancing to the round of 16. ESPN 6-2-2-0. Done. Finished. History made. And the way it happened? Let me take you inside every single moment of it. To understand why this result is so seismically significant, we need to wind the clock back just a few weeks. Because here is the thing about this rivalry that the casual observer might have missed. The win comes just weeks after Gauff dealt Eala a dominant defeat in the quarterfinals of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. ESPN, and when I say dominant, I mean absolutely ruthless. Gauff steamrolled Eala 6-love, 6-2 in Dubai. That is as lopsided as it gets on a professional tennis court. Some players never recover from a beating like that. Some players go home, question everything, and spend weeks rebuilding their shattered confidence piece by painful piece. Not Alex Eala. She absorbed that humiliation. She filed it away in the mental vault, and she marched straight into the California desert carrying the memory of that scoreline like a loaded weapon. Both players struggled to settle early as serve proved difficult to hold, with the first 3 service games immediately traded through breaks, but Eala eventually found her rhythm in a grinding 4th game on Gauff's serve. The 20-year-old produced a sharp finishing burst from the baseline to secure her second break of the set, a turning point that shifted the momentum firmly in her favor. ESPN, that 4th game. That grinding, exhausting, pivotal 4th game. That was the moment the entire match turned on its axis. Eala was not just playing tennis in that moment. She was making a statement. She was announcing to every person watching, in that stadium and around the world, that the player who meekly absorbed a double bagel in Dubai no longer existed. A new, sharper, more dangerous Alexandra Eala had arrived in the desert. And then the injury drama unfolded. Gauff had her left arm checked during a medical timeout, but returned to the match after several minutes. However, the American star was unable to regroup and surrendered a double fault that allowed Eala to take the opening set. GMA News Online, the first set was gone, 6-2 to Eala. And in the second set, after Eala had broken again to lead 2-0, the 31st-ranked Eala held her serve in the second game of the second set before Gauff retired from the match after feeling persistent pain in her left arm. Manila Bulletin, the match was over. The stadium erupted, and Alexandra Eala stood there on the biggest court in tennis paradise with a look on her face that told the whole story: disbelief, gratitude, relief, and the quiet, burning satisfaction of someone who has worked in the dark for a very long time and has finally stepped into the light. Now here is where the story takes on a dimension that transcends sport entirely. Because while everyone else was focused on the scoreline, what happened on that microphone after the match was nothing short of extraordinary. It was International Women's Day on March 8th. And rather than making this moment entirely about herself, rather than beating her chest and screaming into the crowd, Eala used her on-court interview to acknowledge International Women's Day and to send praise and well wishes Gauff's way. WTA. She stood there, in front of thousands of people, and she said, "I want to say thank you to all the incredible women who have paved the way and who have advocated for themselves and for other women." She also described Gauff as an amazing competitor and an amazing role model before wishing the American a speedy recovery.
It's an injured player. I am sure your heart is breaking for Coco right now.
Yes. First and foremost, I want to say Happy Women's Day, everybody.
Manila Bulletin. And then she said something else. She said simply, "I really didn't want to win this way, but this is still a really big moment for me." Let that sink in. The grace, the class, the sheer emotional maturity of a 20-year-old handling one of the biggest moments of her career with that level of dignity. If you are not a fan of Alexandra Eala right now, you need to seriously examine your life choices. But Champions Tennisitics family, we need to talk about the bigger picture. Because this win was not just special because of what happened in this particular match. It was special because of everything that led to it. The years of invisible suffering, the lonely nights thousands of miles from home, the crushing weight of national expectation, and the absolutely savage social media abuse that this young woman has had to endure along the way. Let me tell you what her coaches and inner circle have revealed about the toll this journey has taken behind the scenes. Imagine being a teenager, training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, surrounded by elite players from wealthy tennis powerhouses, sleeping in European hotel rooms while your family is half a world away in the Philippines. The time zones alone are brutal. When it is a normal afternoon in California or Paris, it is the dead of night back in Manila. Every phone call home is a reminder of the distance. Every lonely meal in an unfamiliar restaurant is a test of mental fortitude. And while all of this is happening, while you are grinding through thousands of repetitions on the practice court, icing your joints in cold locker rooms, and learning the brutal politics of the WTA Tour, a vocal and vicious minority of keyboard warriors is on the internet trying to tear you apart. They criticized her ranking. They picked apart her technique. They questioned whether she had what it took to compete at the elite level. And most devastatingly of all, they questioned her right to represent her country. Can you imagine? This girl, who has dedicated her entire life to bringing glory to the Philippines, being told by people safely hidden behind their screens that she is not good enough, that she is not worthy, the kind of cyberbullying that has broken fully grown, experienced professionals was being directed at a teenage girl whose only crime was daring to dream bigger than anyone from her country had dreamed before in tennis. And yet, here is what the people closest to Eala say about how she handled it. She never complained. She quietly got up every single morning and continued to fight. She did not post vague quotes on social media. She did not give tearful press conferences. She did not lash out at her critics. She absorbed the pain, bottled it up with incredible discipline, and poured every ounce of that fuel into her work. That is not the behavior of a tennis player. That is the behavior of a warrior. And the evidence of that warrior spirit had already been building long before Indian Wells. Let us talk about the resume that this 20-year-old has already assembled, because it is absolutely mind-bending when you lay it all out. Eala now owns a record against top 5 opponents, with wins over Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek at Miami 2025 and now Gauff. WTA, read that sentence back slowly. Madison Keys, Grand Slam champion. Iga Swiatek, the most dominant player in women's tennis for years. And now Coco Gauff, world number 4. Two-time major winner. Gauff became the 4th Grand Slam champion that Eala has beaten after the world number 32 Filipina stunned Poland's Iga Swiatek, the United States' Madison Keys, and Latvia's Jelena Ostapenko on the way to the semifinals of the 2025 Miami Open. Rappler, for Grand Slam champions. At age 20, from the Philippines. If you wrote that as a fictional sports story, publishers would reject it for being too unrealistic. And speaking of unrealistic, let us talk about the cultural earthquake this woman is triggering. Eala has been bombarded by Filipino fans since her career breakthrough nearly a year ago, when she made the semi-finals of the 2025 Miami Open. At her first Australian Open in January, some fans were forced to stand during her first-round loss to Alicia Parks after it was assigned to a smaller court. A month later, she sold out all her matches in a quarterfinal run at the Dubai Tennis Championships. Front Office Sports, let me repeat that. She sold out her matches in Dubai. Not the final, not a semi-final, her regular matches. The demand to see this woman play tennis is so overwhelming that tournaments are scrambling to keep up. As the clock approached midnight at Indian Wells, much of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden was ready to call it a night. But the lights stayed on at Stadium 3, where a few thousand fans sat in the cool night for a second-round match. It is rare at Indian Wells, or pretty much any tennis tournament, to see such a sizable and raucous crowd for a late-night second-round match. They were there to see the 31st ranked player in the world. Front Office Sports, thousands of fans. Midnight, second round. At Indian Wells. Do you understand how unprecedented that is? The tournament executives certainly do. BNP Paribas Open executive Philippe Dor confirmed, "We love every minute of it," and that the tournament benefits enormously from Eala's presence. Front Office Sports. The tournament even posted a day in the life video with Eala that became by far its most watched YouTube video of the year. And why are the Filipino fans showing up in such massive, jaw-dropping numbers? Longtime Filipino sports journalist TJ Manitak explained that the country has been hungry for the next Manny Pacquiao, saying that when Pacquiao was at his peak, life stopped. When there was a fight, nothing was on the road because everyone was watching. Front Office Sports. That is the scale of icon that the Philippines is looking for. And in Alexandra Eala, they have found their answer. More than 10 million Filipinos live outside of the Philippines, including approximately 1.7 million in California alone. Front Office Sports. So when Eala steps onto the courts of Indian Wells, she is not just playing in front of a local crowd. She is playing in front of her people. Everywhere she goes, her people follow. And the respect that her presence commands has reached even her fiercest rivals. Remember Dubai, where Gauff demolished Eala? Even after that lopsided victory, Gauff gave a shout-out to Eala's backers who helped fill up the center court, saying, "Thank you guys for coming out here. I know you were mostly supporting Alex, but it is great to be on a crowded court. Also, I would like to thank Alex for bringing a new demographic to the sport. I really appreciate it. I think it's great." BNP Paribas Open, Coco Gauff, one of the biggest stars in tennis, publicly thanking her opponent for bringing new fans to the game. That is the kind of impact Alexandra Eala is having. She is not just winning matches. She is growing the sport. Now let us talk about what makes this particular Indian Wells run so historic in a factual, undeniable sense, because the records being broken here are staggering. Eala becomes the first Filipino player to reach the round of 16 at Indian Wells since the tournament's inception. WTA, the tournament's inception. Indian Wells has been running for decades. It has hosted some of the greatest names in tennis history, and no Filipino player had ever made the round of 16 before. Until right now. Until Alexandra Eala. And this was also her first time ever competing at this tournament. She showed up at Indian Wells for the very first time in her career and immediately became a historic pioneer. The audacity of it. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. And it did not come easy. Before she even got to the Gauff match, she had to go through Diana Yastremska in the second round, a battle that nearly knocked her out of the tournament before her story could even begin. She persevered to beat the former Grand Slam semi-finalist 7-5, 4-6, 7-5 after a match that stretched close to 3 hours as her encounter with Yastremska pushed close to midnight. "I just told myself to keep fighting, and I was still in the match. I really had to dig deep for that one," Eala told reporters afterward. BNP Paribas Open, dig deep. 3 hours. Almost midnight. Nearly out of the tournament. And she fought her way through. That is who Alexandra Eala is. She does not wilt when the pressure mounts. She finds another gear. So here we are, Champions Tennisitics family. We are sitting on the edge of the most exciting chapter yet in this extraordinary story. Eala continues her ambitious quest at the BNP Paribas Open as she faces world number 14 Linda Noskova in the round of 16, with the match scheduled at Stadium 1 and Filipino fans expected to pack the seats. Manila Bulletin, Linda Noskova, the 14th seed, 21 years old from the Czech Republic, a player who has reached the quarterfinals of the Australian Open and who is ranked among the best in the world. This is not a gimme. This is not a soft draw. This is a real test against a genuine elite-level player who has all the weapons to make Eala's life very difficult. Noskova is a regular Grand Slam competitor, having reached the quarterfinals of the 2024 Australian Open. Rappler, she hits the ball with tremendous power, she attacks on her first strike, and she is not the kind of player who is going to be rattled by the atmosphere or the occasion. This will also be the first time these two players have ever met, meaning there is no tape, no scouting advantage, no prior experience to draw on. Both players are walking in blind, and in a match like that, confidence and momentum are everything. Eala has both in abundance right now. A victory for Eala would secure her a quarterfinals berth with the winner between 7th seed Jasmine Paolini and qualifier Talia Gibson. Eala had previously met and won against both players. Manila Bulletin. So if Eala gets through Noskova, her projected quarterfinal opponent is someone she has already beaten. The path to a semifinal, to a final, to what would be the most stunning result in the history of Philippine tennis. It is right there. It is within reach. The draw has opened up in the most dramatic, movie script fashion, and Alexandra Eala is standing right at the threshold of something truly immortal. And let us take a moment to acknowledge something beautiful that happened in the middle of all this competitive fire. In her post-match speech after beating Gauff, on International Women's Day, Alexandra Eala did not take the easy road of pure triumphalism. She chose grace. She chose generosity. She acknowledged the women who came before her, she honored her opponent, and she wished Gauff a speedy recovery. Gauff later described her retirement as a disappointing way to finish and said the injury was unlike anything she had previously experienced.
To be positive. I mean, after the match, I definitely was struggling in the locker room. I don't like losing, and yeah, I think for me, the main thing, I'm sure my team and everyone's been.
Olympics. Our thoughts are genuinely with Coco Gauff, because she is a phenomenal champion and a brilliant ambassador for the sport, and we hope she recovers quickly. But we also cannot ignore the beauty of seeing these two young women, rivals on the court, treating each other with such profound mutual respect off it. That is what sport, at its absolute best, looks like. The reaction back in the Philippines to all of this has been, as you can imagine, absolutely volcanic. Watch parties across Manila. Families cramming around television screens in the early hours of the morning, bleary-eyed but refusing to sleep because this is history and you do not sleep through history. Celebrities, athletes, politicians, everyone has been sharing messages of love and pride for this extraordinary young woman. The hashtags trending worldwide. The social media notifications flooding in from every corner of the Filipino diaspora, from California to the Middle East to Europe to Asia. An entire nation united in joy and pride and emotion. All because a 20-year-old girl from their country decided she was going to be the greatest and then backed it up with everything she had. And here is what gives this story its deepest, most resonant emotional punch. The Philippines has historically been a boxing and basketball country. Manny Pacquiao was not just a sports hero, he was a cultural deity. The whole country stopped when he fought. Roads emptied, restaurants closed. An entire nation held its collective breath together. That kind of unifying sports icon comes along once in a generation, maybe twice in a lifetime. And the people of the Philippines have been waiting and waiting and waiting for the next one. In Alexandra Eala, they may have found their answer. Not in a boxing ring, not on a basketball court, but on a tennis court 6,000 miles away in the California desert, where a young woman with a racket and an unbreakable spirit is quietly rewriting the story of what is possible for her country. The commercials will come. The sponsorships will explode. The endorsement deals will stack up. The magazine covers are already being planned. But none of that matters right now, in this moment. What matters is that a victory in the round of 16 would propel Eala into the quarterfinals of one of tennis' most prestigious tournaments, further cementing her place among the sport's rising stars. Phil Star, and if she gets there? If she makes that quarterfinal? If she dares to push even further? We are talking about something that has never been done before. something that the Philippine tennis community has never even allowed itself to dream about. And this woman, this 20-year-old warrior who cried alone in airport terminals and wiped her tears and hit another 1,000 forehands. This woman who absorbed the venom of trolls and converted it into fuel. She is right there on the edge of making that dream real. Tennis has always been a sport of stories, of comebacks and heartbreaks and dynasties and upsets. But every generation or so, a story comes along that is bigger than tennis. A story that reaches beyond the sport and touches something universal in the human experience. The story of the underdog, the outsider, the one who was not supposed to be there, the one who was told, in 1,000 subtle and not-so-subtle ways, that this world was not built for her.
First and foremost, I want to say Happy Women's Day, everybody.